Moving on to the Western Conference 1-8 matchup here, Nate. New Orleans, the Pelicans managed to sneak their way into the playoffs. Paul George did not play in that play-in game. I'm just going to throw it out there. So that obviously made a lot of that stuff different than we would have thought it might have gone if he had played. Not a big deal. They won by 4. They get to play in a series that neither of those teams, in terms of the Clippers or the Pelicans, we would like against the juggernaut that are the Suns, who are sitting at minus 2,500 to win the series. If you do want to put down a ton of money to win a little bit of it back, I don't. It has been bet up from minus 1,600, right, where we might have considered if the Clippers would be similar, maybe not as bad, but either way, yeah, people are still feeling good about the Suns enough to bet them all the way from minus 16 to minus 25. We, just throwing it out there, have an insane friend who bet $2 on the Pelicans to win the championship, to win a ton of money. So we'll all be monitoring that with him probably for only the next 4 games until Phoenix wins this one. In game 1, they're sitting at minus 10 favorites here, 10 points. And the total's at 225. Another game similar to that Bucks Bulls series that we're just kind of like, especially with game 1. I mean, I could see Phoenix coming out hot, really wanting to, put their flag in the ground and go, this is our series. I could also see NOLA coming out spunky, but I just don't think that they have nearly enough to compete. So what do you think that the game 1 angles are here you're looking at?
Well, it is interesting. You could take the Suns in 5 at plus 160. That's a huge difference than this minus 2,500. And then just hope the Pelicans find a way to win one of these games. I don't think it's going to be in Phoenix. That's for sure. I mean, they actually did win one of these games in Phoenix on February 25th when Chris Paul was out, though. Take that with a heaping pound of salt, as Mo likes to say. They did it by winning the rebounding advantage 53-37, by getting to the free throw line 41 times. That's just not going to happen again. I mean, the Suns, they limit everything. They don't give you anything like the Spartans at Thermopylae. You're going to get sixth in fast break points allowed, 3rd in 2-point percentage allowed, 5th in 3-point shooting allowed. And it's not like the Pelicans can even shoot threes. They're at the 2nd worst team from the perimeter. I mean, we've been discounting them in both these playing games a little bit. And yes, they got a huge benefit from Paul George not being available in that game at the last minute. Still, I mean, we're in position where they had to pull off a miracle comeback to win it. Brandon Ingram was excellent. CJ McCollum, not as much. And I don't know who Mikal Bridges is going to be on, but if he's on Ingram, that's going to evaporate pretty quickly. Joe Val does have some good numbers against the Suns, but again, they do not consistently allow paint points. And that is really the key here is, can you score at the rim against the Suns? I don't think they can. And I mean, while I'm not willing to take the Bucks to cover 10 points for some reason, even though that feels like the 1-8 matchup in the other conference, I would bet the Suns to win by 10. Yeah. I mean, they're just so efficient on both ends that they're probably going to roll here. And I would look at their team total as well. Just because I don't think New Orleans has much. I mean, they were still 2-9 straight up with a rested disadvantage going into that game without PG. I don't think they're going to have much of a lift here in game 1, and then maybe they'll try to go out and steal game 2 to stay competitive in the series.
Yeah, that could happen. I mean, once the one time in their 4 matchups that they did, they won. That being the Pellies against the Suns. They not only did the Suns not have Chris Paul, they did not have Campaign, so they didn't have a point guard. They had Elfrid Payton. And let me tell you, Elfrid Payton is not a great starting point guard. And so that was a huge lift for them when they did have CJ at that point, and they're clicking on all cylinders. They had a combined 60 points from CJ and Brandon Ingram in that game. And so, yeah, I would say that, as you mentioned from the top, at home on the season, Suns, maybe not great against the spread when they're the home favorites, which they were in all but one home game this season. Straight up, though, 32-9. So, I mean, it does still feel like a game where once you get into the playoffs, and even if this game was, close down the stretch, we get into clutch time. We all know what that means for the Suns. I just want to mention off top here, 33.4 net rating in clutch time this season. That's the third best mark in NBA history. Where the Suns, if you look at like the top 12 players and their individual net ratings in clutch time, I believe like 5 of the top 12 are Suns players. So we could shout out Monty Williams, who should likely win Coach of the Year this year for everything he's done, both in the half court offense. By the way, they are the third best half court offense, the sixth most efficient transition offense. So every way they do it, both on offense and on defense as well. As we know, on defense is still in the top 6 there in terms of defensive efficiencies, et cetera. So there's nothing to like really for Nola. I think at 4-1, I could see the Pellies stealing this, but at plus 200 for this to be a sweep, I think that's where my money goes if I'm betting on the series here. And then as far as game 1 goes, if the Suns are at home, figure out how to get them to win. If you want to get cuter with it and go and figure out a way to tease it with something else, fine. I don't really want to touch the total because I just don't know what I'm going to get from the Pellies on offense against this team. They scored 107 against the Clippers team that obviously we wanted to slow it down and make it choppy, but it still got kind of ugly there at the end in the second half. Once the Clippers really started clamping down on that Pelicans defense, they kind of didn't really know where to go. If CJ's not making shots, Brandon Ingram's getting Mikal Bridges in his face. They're not going to really know where to go on offense from there. Playing a ton of rookies and young guys with inexperience, etc. I think this is one where they're going to figure out. Monty Williams and company are going to figure out a way to really shut down CJ. I guess I'm talking myself into the under, to be honest, while I'm talking about it. But more importantly, I just know that I'm not worried about Phoenix. And at 0 point in any of these games, if I've got money on Phoenix, am I going to be worried about them losing, even if it is super close down the stretch? I'm actually going to feel just as good as I would even if they're blowing them out with their clutch time offense.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. You got to find a way to juke that money line. And the player performance doubles did just come out on FanDuel. Book 25 and a win, minus 118. Chris Paul double, minus 104, even better. I mean, the 3-pointers were such a huge advantage for the Suns in these wins. They hit 17 and 18 threes against the Pels. As I mentioned, the Pels only hit about 9 per game. They're the second worst team from beyond the arc. You're spot on saying they have a lot of rookies on the wing. Maybe they don't know what they don't know, and they'll come out here, and it's also does help with them with that rest disadvantage to have so many rookies. But Vegas expects them to go under 107.5. It's minus 120. I actually would take the over there and assume that the Suns will say, fine, like you can have a certain amount of points. We're going to score over 120, which again is my more confident bet at 118.5 for them to go over. Yeah. They've been lying in wait for a while. They are absolutely on a mission this year. In their 3 wins with CP coming back, right, 122 points per game, 124.5 offensive rating. The pace was slower in the playoffs last year, that's for sure. But I mean, they also opened against the Lakers and got that Clippers team down the stretch. So I think in this particular matchup, they will look to push it a little bit more, knowing they have a team that's at such a rest disadvantage and come out strong. I mean, you can get them minus 3.5 in the first quarter or a little bit more than that at the half. Or otherwise, trying to get the money line down, or maybe just parlaying some of these really obvious money lines like the Suns, the Bucks, and the Heat, in my opinion. If Bam is ruled in, and that's even money if you just do a 3-way parlay there. I mean, that's how you kind of have to approach some of these big slates, these playoff slates, and just say, what, these teams are not going to cough up game 1 on their home court.
Yeah, no, sure. I'm with that. I'm going to just throw a word of caution to just taking 1-8 matchups in game 1. I just feel like I remember so many random Raptors or Magic beat the Sixers or beat, whomever beat the Bucks in game 1, whatever. I'm not saying like I'm necessarily predicting that. It just, those like 3 money line bets just scare me. And that's more personal memory. And obviously, you're talking about 3 games here, but I think you feel good if Capella and John Collins aren't playing, especially both of them. And and at least Capella there. We know John Collins likely to be out. I think you can feel pretty good about that one there with the Suns for sure, and the Bucks. So I guess I'm not that scared of it, to be honest with you, because I'm now remembering that Capella is not playing. The Suns losing isn't going to happen to me. That would be the biggest surprise in a playoff game in recent memory. And then that Bucks Bulls game as well. I think the Bucks are coming out on a mission. They are my team to come out of the Eastern Conference there. So that is what I expect to happen there. And that is all the time we have for you in this one. We will be looking forward to all of these Sunday matchups with you guys here in round one of the NBA playoffs. Continuing along, make sure you are liked and subscribed to that page. Continue to get every single playoff game that we will be bringing you guys, including these weekend ones. And until we see you next, happy betting.